Back on Tennis Channel Live in 2017, Rafa Nadal won his 10th Roland Garros title, did not drop more than 4 games in a set the entire tournament, only lost 6 games in the final, his 15th slam, so all-time past Pete Sampras on that list. Andy Roddick joins the program, freshly shaven, new haircut for Andy, looking good. Jim and I still haven't cut our hair, so we'll see how that goes. What did you make of that domination from Nadal in 2017, following the fact that he had, withdrawn the year before and gotten upset by Djokovic before that?
Well, I think it's safe to say that his performance in 2017 is much better than what could be my last haircut. When you're watching Rafa, and I think the other year that kind of reminded me of 17 was the 2008 Roland Garros, where I'm sitting there watching at home because that's often what I did during the second week of Roland Garros, even as an active player. But when he's kind of creating space on the court where you're seeing 50% of his shots actually crossing the sideline before it crosses the baseline, he's causing work for the other players. And as Jim mentioned the other day, it gets a little hot. The ball starts bouncing. He kind of crosses the court. He's adding 2 or 3 feet of court on every side just by virtue of where that ball is bouncing. It makes it pain for everyone else. It makes you feel like you have to serve 85% first serves to even be able to get through your own service game. So, it's weird to say that Rafa may have had a chip on his shoulder at Roland Garros, but I absolutely think that was the case in 2017 based on his loss to Novak and then the injury the year later.
Should I pick up, Steve?
Yeah, go for it, Jim.
Okay. I'll take it. This remote thing's super, super comfortable. Look, as luck would have it, Andy, on that Sunday when Stan would go play Rafa, it would be very warm. And that's bad for Wawrinka. He's a bulldozer, but he's not one of the tallest players with that one-handed backhand. Tough to create power from up here, as we've seen over the years for even Roger Federer. So for him, the conditions didn't even go into his favor. So everything clicked into gear for Rafa. We showed you en route to that 10th title. Just lost 35 games. 08, you're referring to that year where he was so dominant as well. He dropped 42 games. But when we looked at his competition in 2017 versus 2008, he faced a much higher level of competition across the board, the average ranking much higher. So for me, this is his all-time best performance at a major. For Nadal to dominate the field the way he did so thoroughly was just amazing to witness.
Andy,
Steve.
We're just gonna. All right, Jim, Andy. This was La Decima, right? This was the year of the 10. He won his 10th at Monte Carlo. He won his 10th at Barcelona. Wins his 10th at Roland Garros. I mean, there are some really good tennis players that haven't won just 10 titles. I mean, put that in perspective for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember maybe it was 05, 06. It was probably 06 when he had won his second Roland Garros title. And my trainer, Doug Spreen, was like, I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen someone so dominant on one service before. He goes, I think this guy's going to win 8 Roland Garros titles. And I said, Doug, let's not be victims of the moment. There's a big difference between 2 and 8. And it turns out I was right. Rafa didn't win 8 Roland Garros titles.
Andy, you think about Americans in Roland Garros and what they have done over the last, 65 years. You got four titles. And Michael Chang won it, Jim won it twice, and then Andre Agassi won it. What's been the issue for Americans in Paris?
Well, I just think it goes to one, services that and grew up on. I know Jim spent a lot of time on the clay, and he's the only guy who actually won it twice. For me, it was different because even there's clay courts and then there's specific to Roland Garros. So, I always describe the clay, and when you get to Rome, which I actually played okay at, and some other places where I had won titles on clay, you'd get to Roland Garros, and the clay, the consistency was more like a baking powder as opposed to like the other clay feels like salt. So for me, I wasn't a great mover on clay, but that was kind of amplified by the court surface. I always felt like I would serve, split step, and then I would kind of struggle to find my footing a little bit. And if you're not a natural mover on clay in the first place, then there's kind of another expected level to kind of conquer. It really exposed movement, and I think that's been the case with a lot of American players throughout the years. Our present company excluded, Mr. Courier.
All right, Andy, stick around. When we come back, we will have more with Andy Roddick talking about the new Project Love All and a smart decision made by Wimbledon. We'll get into that when we return.